A's pregame live on the air, bright and early on the West Coast on this Sunday morning, early afternoon in Houston, Texas, where the Athletics and the Astros will finish up their three-game series. The A's trying to salvage one game of this set against the best team in the American League. And hello and good morning out here on the West Coast, everybody. Dave Benz alongside Shooty Babbit. Glad you're along for A's pregame live. And Shooty, we talked about it last night on the postgame show. These are two teams going in opposite directions right now, but the A's sure would like to salvage one win in Houston to at least leave that city with a good taste in their mouth.
Well, they say history does repeat itself. The A's have had some success against Christian Javier, excuse me. And hopefully they can build on that today. I mean, they've hit him out the park. They've scored runs against him. He's probably the weak link in that rotation, so the A's definitely have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and we will talk about that. Here's what is ahead on this edition of A's Pregame Live. The first pitch brought to you by River Rock Casino. We'll take a look back at the A's 20-game win streak. Game 2 of that 20-game streak came on August 14th, 2002, so 20 years ago today. Eric Chavez is going to go under the spotlight with Shooty Babbit. We'll also talk about Swervin' Cole Irvin.
Oh, yeah, Swervin' Irvin, the truth. I probably should have been an all-star. Had he had more W's next to his name, he probably would have got voted in. Blackburn had a tremendous first half, and that's why he was anointed that role. And
you mentioned Christian Javier. He has been the one starter in the Astros staff that you feel like you can get to on a regular basis.
Yeah, well, he's pitching for his playoff life right now. A lot of times 4 and 5 starters don't pitch in the playoffs. He's definitely on the cusp right now.
We have a full show ahead, and we're going to lead up to the first pitch between the Athletics and the Astros from Houston. We're just getting started. Back here on A's pregame live, the Athletics currently mired in a 7-game losing streak. They'd like to end that today. And you talk about streaks, how about the Oakland A's 20-game win streak? 20 years ago, it was just getting started. 4th longest win streak in the modern era. And last night, the Los Angeles Dodgers, talk about streaking, Shooty Babbit. They won their 12th straight game. And the Dodgers right now, their record since the beginning of July is absolutely off the charts. This is a team that is absolutely dialed in. You would talk about a team that could threaten to win 20 straight. I don't think anybody would be surprised if the Dodgers rolled off another 8 in a row.
You're talking about a powerhouse. These dudes hit 6 bombs last night. That's what tells you how potent they are. Everybody in the lineup is capable of shooting you out of the yard if you make a mistake. I mean, Mookie Betts, one of the best players in our game, one of the top leadoff hitters. And what does he do? First pitch he sees up in the zone, Kalapaye. It's up out of here, man. So, yeah, they're going to be tough to beat.
He's got 26 home runs on the season. Dodgers had 6 home runs as a team in Kansas City yesterday in winning that game 13-3. They are just absolutely on a tear. Speaking of tears, we're talking about the streak because, yes, we are turning our attention back 2 decades to the 20-game win streak for the Oakland A's. Game 2 of the 20-game streak came 20 years ago today. Here's a look at how it went down. How fun was that? The A's 4-2 winners in that game 20 years ago today over the Toronto Blue Jays. How about 4 runs on 4 hits, including that bomb by Chavez? That's pretty efficient shooting. You get 4 runs on 4 hits.
Yeah, and those were 2 pretty good clubs there, man. I'm going to tell you what, there's some bad dudes that have worn number 3 for the Oakland A's. I just want to let you in on that. But you know what? Eric Chavez talked about so much about his prowess down at third base and his 6 gold gloves. This dude could rake from the time that he put on a uniform as a kid. And sweet swinging, just easy power. He's going to be in that Hall of Fame. Well, he is in the Oakland A's Hall of Fame.
Well-deserved, and especially he was dialed in during this streak for the A's 20 years ago.
Yeah, just look at the swing. I mean, it's so easy. He stays on everything, always in control of his at-bats. You never saw him over-swinging. And talking about his work down at the hot corner, man, I mean, nobody played that space over in third base by that Tart better than Eric Chavez. He's gone over there and made tremendous plays. And we've seen Gold Glove caliber third baseman in the Oakland A's history ever since that team has been in that building.
And obviously a confident player. Everybody's seen The Captain, by the way, the docuseries on Derek Jeter. Eric Chavez's comments during the postseason against the Yankees was highly noted, but you love the confidence. He brought it to the plate. He brought it to the yard every single game. And, man, he was a fan favorite for a reason. Absolutely.
I mean, one of the special guys in our game that we got a chance to witness play. And it's good to hear the captain come out and talk about some of the things because he was a real private type guy. And you didn't know much about him off the field. So it's definitely some enlightening issues in that movie.
Yeah, a lot of fun. We'll be looking back at that streak as we continue on through the rest of this season. The Oakland A's, meantime, every single game you can count on it. A's Cast, courtesy of the one and only Chris Townsend. Make sure you go to athletics.com/A's Cast to check that out. He'll also be in every pregame and postgame show this season, including right now talking about today's starter, Cole Irvin.
I am a recipe for success.
Thank you, Townie. We will dig deeper into the Cole Irvin numbers coming up. We'll look at the pitching matchup for the final game of this series. Stay with us. Well, yesterday in Houston, 8-0 the final in favor of the Astros. Stephen Vogt and the Athletics hoping to change their fortunes here in the third and final game of this series this afternoon in Houston this morning here on the West Coast. Your pitching matchup for today, Cole Irvin will take the ball for the Athletics. We'll get to him in a moment. Christian Javier, you said at the top, Shooty, the weak link of this Astros pitching staff. And that's not a knock on Javier as much as it is saying how good the rest of the staff is. Although Javier, his last 6 starts, he's 0-5, and he has struggled.
Yeah, in this case, it's not helped by McCullers coming back yesterday, showing that he's going to be a prominent figure in this rotation as well. So every time that Christian goes out and take the bump, it's going to be critical in his advancement and how long he's going to last on that roster when the playoff rosters are put in. So I'm looking for him to come out and battle against the A's today. But one thing about that I've been noticing with his starts of late, he's making a lot of mistakes up in the strike zone. And those are the pitches that the A's shot out the yard. So we talked about Stephen Vogt coming out in the opening, walking out. I'm surprised he wasn't running out there because he's had some success against Javier. So it'll be interested in that match.
Yeah, 1 for 2 for him with a home run against Javier this season. Javier, those last 6 starts, he's allowed 8 home runs. He's got 2 starts this season against the A's for exactly 9 innings of work.
Yeah, and he's not afraid. I mean, he's going to challenge you. The secondary stuff is not that sharp these days. He goes both with the slider and the curveball. One just has a little more depth to it, but he's going to come at you with that number 1 and just be ready to hit today.
He's allowed 12 walks in his last 6. Meantime, Cole Irvin, he's been fantastic. You heard Chris Townsend talking about the numbers since July 1st, and almost maybe he got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because he didn't get more all-star love when they were talking about it at the beginning of July. And, going against Christian Javier, you feel like Cole Irvin maybe is going in there feeling like, I got a chance to get a win today. He was a tough luck loser against the Angels last time out.
Yeah, and he's been as stingy as Bad Santa, man. I mean, he hasn't been giving anything up. And the thing about it, when you talk about less than 2 walks per start, this is a guy that knows that he has to go out there and be perfect for the majority of the time, and he's going to be on a bad end of a start. But what he does is go out there and compete. If he can get through that first inning, as you alluded to, typically he has a pretty smooth outing. So a lot of times good teams, they jump on you first. They jump on you early and they put you behind the 8 ball and make it tough for you to come back. Irvin is so much aware of that when he goes out and pitches. When he makes mistakes, it's when he tries to steal a pitch early, maybe steal a strike and throw that get-over breaking ball. And that rings his alarm very early, and it seems like it wakes him up, and he doesn't make many mistakes after that. A lot of time with touch and field guys, they're working the zone a little bit to see what's working for them that day until they get a feel and they get their rhythm. And once they do that, it's all good with them. So I look for him to be the same way, understanding that it's very difficult for a team to sweep you in any series. He can be the difference today because the A's need one badly.
And that exact number that you talked about, he's allowed 15 of his 44 runs this season in the first inning. So get through a clean first inning, you feel like you got a pretty good shot if you're Cole Irvin. And the other thing Towney talked about, you love the fact that he just gets the ball and he just throws it. He doesn't give up a lot of walks. 14.1 pitches per inning. That's the second lowest number in the majors this season. Yeah, that is pretty darn efficient.
I think that he's the perfect model for some of these young pitchers on the A's staff to just sit back and watch the way he's going about his craft, how he's setting up hitters, how he's attacking soft spots, how he's pitching to the weak part of the bat, and he's going right after him. I mean, not a whole lot of high pitch at bats where it's a laborious situation where they're fouling off 5 or 6 pitches. He's getting ahead and he's putting the guys away, and that's the one thing that we'd like to see more of with the young A's pitchers.
You see the numbers here since the start of July and the strikeouts per 9 innings, and in the totals for the strikeouts, 32 strikeouts, 5 walks in those starts since the beginning of July. That's impressive.
And you know, theoretically, Dave, he's not a strikeout pitcher. He can get it up to 95 if he likes to, but what he does, he pitches backwards and he gets guys chasing, and that's where he creates most of his strikeouts.
The other thing you'd like to see is you'd like to see him be able to get the third out, because the third out has been an issue for the A's in this series. The Astros scored 6 runs yesterday with 2 outs, and if you factor in what they did on Friday night as well, here's the numbers with 2 outs in this series. They're batting .500, the OPS 1.462. I mean, that is really not a winning recipe for any team to give up that kind of efficiency to the opposition with 2 outs.
Yeah, well, this is a seasoned team with a lot of experience, and there's no panic. Just because they get 2 strikes or down to 2 outs, they understand that one swing could change the complexity of the game. Just like we saw right here with this one big swing that pretty much, was sealing the deal of that game. So Dusty Baker have these guys ready to play. They understand what's at stake for them. Every out is crucial. They're still trying to accomplish getting the best record in the American League so they can have home field advantage. So there's no soft cushion in this lineup. I just think that the A's have to do a better job of executing with 2 strikes, because that's where the damage has been done. You talk about with 2 outs, a lot of times it's with 2 strikes and 2 outs.
Well, to underscore that point, we're going to go back to something we talked about on the post-game show yesterday. Bregman in the first inning yesterday, and Logue had a chance to punch him out and get out of the inning after giving up a blue pit, but he was unable to close the door.
Well, you saw how he attacked him early on. He had an understanding what he wanted to do, and he did that. But built on Bregman's reputation of being a great hitter, I think he got a little passive in the way that he attacked him. That's a competitive pitch, but not one that he's going to chase. Now it's 1-2. I got to give you my best out pitch. This is a fastball up and in the zone. You're not going to chase that pitch right there, Dave. So now he's back in the count. It's 2-2 in the hitter's count. Now it's not defensive anymore. Now I'm in offensive mode, because the last thing he wants to do is walk me. So he serves up a cookie, puts some milk on it. It's Gonski.
And then it's 2-0, and just like that, instead of going back to the bench and having the offense have a chance to get you a lead, you're down 2-0, and it was all uphill from there, and the A's never recovered in that one. We'll see whether or not they can survive the first inning today and be better at getting that elusive third out. We're going to take a timeout here on A's Pregame Live. Much more still ahead. We're closing in on the first pitch between the A's and the Astros from Minute Maid Park. Back here in A's Pregame Live, the A's and the Astros, Game 3 of the 3-game set coming your way. First pitch just a little more than 10 minutes away here on NBC Sports California. They're making us very hungry right now, Shooty. Let's get to the changeup, brought to you by Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, and we welcome in Glenn Kuiper and Dallas Braden. Guys, we already talked about the pitching matchup a little bit, but Cole Irvin, the numbers since the beginning of July have really been impressive. He's found an even higher groove to be able to get to. What have you guys noticed that's changed a little bit for him these last couple of months?
Well, I mean, I don't know that he's changed a whole lot. I mean, he's always pitched the same way. He's got terrific control. He has a plan. I do know that when he pitches, he works quickly, he throws strikes. I think the defense probably plays better behind him, and that's a big plus, obviously.
There's no question about it, Kite, and you nailed it. He has a game plan, and he's a strike thrower. Those are two of the most important things when you talk about being able to attack a lineup. That is what Cole Irvin does. He knows what he wants to do, and being able to throw strikes in the zone, command the baseball just out of the strike zone is a big deal, and that's exactly what Cole Irvin has done, and I like what you said. I don't think it's been a matter of changing. He's just really kind of kicked it into gear and taken it to the next level.
Guys, you know, sometimes things happen right on the cusp of a show. Today I was reading this morning, Dallas, you have eloquently expressed your feeling about how guys disrespect the game and how you feel about it. Papelbon had some strange things to say today about Tatis. I was just wondering what you guys' feeling was about that.
Well, I don't know what Papelbon said, but I do know my feelings about Tatis. And listen, I think he disrespected baseball, his teammates, the city, an organization, his manager, his GM, everybody. And you know what? I think he should be ashamed of himself. And you know, they're going to have to deal with this because he's got a 14-year contract.
Yeah, there's a lot of people left on the hook, if you will, when it comes to the character of Fernando Tatis Jr. And there's a lot of people now who are kind of looking at him and asking themselves, is this how it's going to continue to go? Is there going to be an adjustment made? And you're right, Shooty, I don't know that we have enough time to express how I feel about folks who do disrespect the game of baseball because of what the game has meant to guys like you and I and Kipe. And so it's going to be a long road back to repairing that character, but it's something I think the San Diego Padres need to have happen a lot sooner rather than later.
And I also think whoever his advisors are, whoever he's listening to, whether it be family members, whether it be agents, I don't know, but I think he needs to find some new advisors because I don't know that he's getting very good advice.
Yeah, still a young player with a bright future, but for right now, that certainly has put a speed bump in what the San Diego Padres were hoping to do this season. Guys, thanks so much. We'll see you at the top of the hour. And Shooty, Babbit, it's time for us to unveil the starting lineups for this game today, brought to you by your California Ford dealers. And the Oakland A's, Tony Kemp, he's got 7 career hits against Christian Javier. Nobody in an A's uniform in the lineup today has had more. Machine is in the 2 spot. Brown in the 3 spot. Laureano, 2 career home runs against Javier. Andrus is going to not play defense today. He will be in the DH spot. Vogt, you mentioned earlier, 1 for 2 with a home run this season against Javier. Bride, after the day off yesterday, back in. Cal Stevenson looking for a new hit streak after he was held 0 for yesterday for the first time in his big league career. And Nick Allen batting 9th. The Astros, meantime, they will put Altuve back in the leadoff spot. He was 0 for 3 yesterday, one of the few Astros not to get a hit. Pena, Alvarez, Bregman, who's batting .467 for the Astros on their homestand. Kyle Tucker, 11 RBIs the last 7. Mancini had 3 hits yesterday. McCormick, Vasquez, and Myers rounding it out today for the Astros. And this Houston Astros team shooting 4th in the league in extra base hits. That's part of the reason why they've got the best record in the American League. They had a couple of triples yesterday. They've had a lot of extra base hits in this series, and that is a big part of the reason why they are atop this division.
Well, we're in an OPS type of era right now, on base plus slugging. And what these guys do, like you said, they shoot you in the gap. They outweigh you. They're patient. When you make a mistake, then they use some clubberitis on you and shoot you up out of the yard. Nobody has an easy time navigating through this lineup. Even without Michael Brantley, they are extremely dangerous. No, they're not as left-handed favorite now as they used to be, but they've got some right-hander that know how to use that short left field porch. And then they don't make a whole lot of mistakes. Jose Altuve is probably one of the best bad ball hitters in all of baseball, so it's really difficult to find an easy way to get him out. So, man, what can you say? This is the class of the American League. The Yankees may have something to say about it, but until somebody proves that they're better, this is the best team in the American League.
I just want to go back, though, to the vernacular. You just said clubberitis. That is fantastic right there. That's next level.
Well, when they go up to the plate, it looked like they got clubs in their hands. I mean, them Louisvilles are swelling up. They're so happy to get up to the plate.
Hey, I mentioned the 2 triples yesterday, and we may get into this on the post-game show, and hopefully it comes to an end today. But the A's have gone 74 straight games without getting a triple. I mean, that is the longest streak that they can look up in Major League Baseball since going back to 1901. How do the A's get a triple today?
Tough in that ballpark. They need one of those balls to do what it did yesterday, to get in that corner and start bouncing around a few times, let an outfielder bobble the ball a couple of times. But the A's have enough fast guys on the team where you think they would have had a few triples, especially with Tony Kemp on the club. So I just think that's happenstance, and it's just one of those things. But let's say they're going to get 4 today. Why not?
4 triples?
4 triples.
All right, 4 triples. They get 4 triples. The A's are going to win. We'll see if our predictions come anywhere close to being accurate. Yesterday, we didn't have much luck. But the A's try and get a win in Game 3 of the set against the Astros from Minute Maid Park. Make sure you stick around after the game. Shooty and I will be back with Post-Game Live. But right now, time to get you out to Glenn and Dallas in Houston for Game 3 here on NBC Sports California. A's Post-Game Live brought to you by Toyota. The A's fall 6-3 to the Astros, and they lose all 3 games in Houston. They'll, as Glenn just said, go up the road to Arlington, Texas for a 4-game set against the Rangers starting tomorrow. But for now, the Astros feeling pretty good about their fortunes against the Oakland Athletics as the best team in the American League pads their record. Dave Benz alongside Shooty Babbit. And Shooty, at least the A's showed some signs of life. They had gone 18 straight innings without scoring a run. So maybe a little bit of something that they can get on the plane with feeling good about.
Well, you expected the Astros to handle their business. They did that. The one thing that I loved about today's game, even though it seemed like we were out of it very early on, to be able to get back into this game and be one swing from being even and back in this ball club, you got to love that as a manager, because the team didn't quit. They kept fighting. They'll learn a lot from getting their head bashed in this past weekend, seeing a team that's full of greatness, looking at that, knowing that's what you want to be. Hope they learned a lot this weekend.
You would expect a team as good as the Astros to be pretty good no matter how many outs there are in an inning. But what they did this weekend in Houston with 2 outs was absolutely off the charts. 18 of 21 runs they scored with 2 outs. That's the Toyota turning point for this series. I mean, look at these numbers, Shooty. A 476 batting average. The OPS, nearly 1.4. It is absolutely ridiculous.
You know, it's kind of demoralizing because these guys grinded, getting themselves in position to where they can limit the damage. And then for these guys to continue to come out with huge 2-out, 2-strike hits. And sometimes they weren't even on bad pitches. Sometimes pitches, sometimes pitches right in the heart of the zone. Today, unfortunately for Irvin, you know, he's been pretty sharp over his last 7 starts. Today, he made a couple of mistakes, like I talked about in the pregame about Altuve. This is one of the best bad ball hitters in all of baseball, so you're really not safe anywhere in the zone. But unfortunately, these guys are mistake killers. It was no different in today.
Well, and it was the same story as what we saw in the first inning yesterday. Exactly the same story. Yordan Alvarez with 2 outs, bases empty. He gets the hit, and then Bregman hits the bomb, and you're down 2-0 just like that. I
thought they played angry yesterday, and they brought that same attitude out today. Whenever you get swept by a team that you feel is not your equal, it tends to put a chip on your shoulder. It seemed like it started with the manager, and it leaked right onto the players. And they came out with vigor. I mean, they played hard. The A's battled, but let's be honest, they're not in the same place that the Astros are right now as far as talent is concerned.
Again, we talked about Cole Irvin in first innings. Let's paint the corners right now, and brought to you by Kelly Moore Paints, the painter's paint store. And Cole Irvin, he's had problems in the first inning. He's been good after the first innings, but 2 more runs allowed in the first inning today. 17 now of 49 on the season have come in the first inning.
I'm sorry, Dave. It's just a tough task. When you're pitching and you don't get any run support, you're not scoring any runs. It's just difficult to go out there and be perfect, knowing that every time I make a mistake, it may cost me. You know, I just want to give them credit for staying in the game, giving the A's some innings, giving that bullpen a rest, because they've been under a whole lot of pressure. They've been overused, in my opinion, because it seems like every game into the 5th, into the 6th inning, somebody's warming up down there, and here we go.
He did get 6 innings of work today. The 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 strikeout, 1 walk for Cole Irvin. Meantime, Christian Javier, we on the pregame show said this guy is the weak link of a 6-man rotation for the Astros. He didn't look like a weak link today.
Well, sometimes you need something to light the fire. I alluded to the return of McQuellers, and he's going to have an opportunity to be in the rotation. Somebody has to come out. I mean, Javier was outstanding today. I mean, he had his slider working, got a lot of swings and misses. Guys were chasing up in the zone. He was able to change eye levels and get guys to see something differently. So for him to go 6 innings and to only give up 1 hit and no runs at all, I don't think you could ask for much more than that.
First win in 7 starts for Christian Javier, and he was so good that I'm sure Dusty Baker might have thought about leaving him in a little bit longer, but 97 pitches, Dusty said, you know what, it's time to sit down, as good as he was today.
Well, when they have one of the best bullpens in baseball as well, just get it to the 6th inning and we'll take it from there. It was no different today, but good thing about it, I love seeing this closer come in and sweat a little bit today because they put a little pressure on him and things could have turned out a lot different.
Yeah, talking about the pressure being put on, how about Nick Allen providing the A's with a much-needed sign of life when he was able to go yard in the 8th inning, his 2nd home run of the season. And you heard Dallas say, you know what, you're not expecting him to hit home runs, but every so often you might run into one. That's what happened here.
I think that is his sweet spot right there. You know, we've noticed him chasing some sliders the way they've been busting it in off the plate so they can get him standing straight up a little bit. Now I'm feed you these sliders out here and you can't reach him. But Nick Allen is a grinder, man. He's a dude that's got some game. He's just got to find out how his game plays at the major league level. Sometimes you hit a home run like that, it may be a bad thing for him because we don't want to see him start doing this. We want to start seeing him getting on top of that baseball and then shooting it through the holes.
But you saw the smiles in the dugout there, despite the fact it was a lopsided game. And I think the smiles were more evidence of the fact that they had gone 18 straight innings without scoring a run, so maybe you finally feel like you're getting a little bit of a weight off your shoulders.
Oh, man, you're talking about wearing on an offense. Everybody coming up to the plate want to be the one guy to get us out of this slump or to just break this bad streak we're in. And what they end up doing is just pressing more and making easier outs. But it's got to be a breath of fresh air to know that you're going down to Arlington instead of being up here in Houston to face the Texas Rangers, a team that's kind of struggling a little bit as well. So hopefully the A's can get some air and maybe pick up some momentum from that club.
A little bit of concern out of this game today, and we'll see whether or not Mark Kotsay addresses it coming up post-game, but Ramon Laureano in the 1st inning tries to go into the corner to chase down this ball, and he slips a little bit out there on the dirt. He would stay in the game, Shooty, but eventually he was replaced in the 4th inning as a defensive replacement. Stephen Piscotty came in, and if you're the A's, the last thing you need right now is for Laureano to be able to miss any time due to a little bit of a slip here.
I think he showed a lot of athleticism there because that could have been a lot worse. But what happened, he stepped down in that line, and it doesn't look like it's a whole lot of dirt down there, so his cleats couldn't even get into the ground, and that's what happened why he lost his balance. From looking at it in the way that he tweaked his body, it wouldn't surprise me if he kind of tweaked his hamstring a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully nothing that lands him on the IL. And again, we'll hear from Mark Kotsay coming up in a few moments. A busy day in center field for Cal Stevenson. I mean, 10 outs. He recorded 10 outs today, Shooty.
Well, they said he could play all 3 outfield positions when they got this kid, and he should have proved them right about everything. It's a spacious center field out there. I remember when they used to have that mound and that pole out there in center field, which made a whole lot of problems for outfielders running up that slope out there. But Cal's playing center field like he's been out there all his life. He's taking charge. I see he has some ball hog in him when the ball goes up. Those corner guys seem like they're veering off because they know this young man has the ball. So you love this type of attitude. They said he's a grinder. He gets everything out of his ability. Thus far, he's shown that that's what he's all about. At
one point, he recorded 6 consecutive Astros outs, and you love the consistency out there. You did not get a hit at the plate today, so the 2-game hit streak is now followed by a 2-game hitless streak for the A's rookie. But, you know, you see what he's able to do, and you feel like he's maybe making an impact that he could stick around.
Well, and that's what you want to see. Some of the moves that's been made, some of the guys that have been called up, you want to see what they're going to bring as far as what's going to happen with them as we move forward. And you've got to like what Stevenson's bringing to the table. We've got guys on the corners that are doing things. Nick Allen is showing you that he's that defensive wizard that everybody's talked about. So I'm kind of liking it. You know, Bride is really swinging that pole. He's a true corner guy. Once he gets comfortable, I guarantee he's going to tap into his power a little more. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a long haul. It's going to be a difficult task. These guys are going to have to take their lumps because when you're playing against the best players in the league, man, this is what you're going to get every single night. So strap it on tight because it's going to be a real rough 2 months ahead of us.
Yeah, the A's 8 straight losses now, and the season high is 10. They had a 9-game losing losing streak as well earlier this season. They would like to put things to a rest tomorrow, but for right now, Mark Kotsay trying to sort out what happened in Game 3 in Houston, and we get his comments to the media right now.
I think for Cole early in the game, that grind went out right now.
A's manager Mark Kotsay following the A's loss in Houston this afternoon. More ahead as we continue talking about Texas after the timeout. Back here in A's postgame live, the Athletics fall today in Houston, 6-3 the final. The A's do show some signs of life late, though. It was 18 consecutive innings at one point that they had not scored a run against the Astros in this series. So you like the fact that they at least have some momentum to take up the road to Arlington, Texas, as we continue on here from our studios. And Shooty, were you ever a part of a perfect game?
I was not. But just to watch them, to witness them, and to watch every pitch and play from the 5th, 6th inning on, you're living on the edge of your seat, watching to see if you're going to be part of history. To watch Dallas Braden do what he did when he did that is just incredible. And Dallas was a guy who pitched to soft contact, wasn't a strikeout guy. He kept the ball in play all day. Balls were hit right at players. But it's an awesome feat, no doubt about it.
Well, fans in Tampa nearly saw a perfect game today as we go around the league. We take you to Tampa where Drew Rasmussen had a perfect game to start off the top of the 9th inning. And boy, he was fantastic. The first 8 innings, 24 up, 24 down. He had it dialed in. And then Jorge Mateo in the top of the 9th comes up with the double to break up not only the perfect game, but the no-hitter. Mateo would eventually come around to score. So not even a shutout to show for Rasmussen. He does get the win, however. But, man, that is certainly pretty good to go 24 up, 24 down.
Yeah, and Jorge Mateo, former Athletic, if you will. So former A's still just doing great things around the league, being spoilers.
Yeah, it's been almost a decade exactly since there's been a perfect game in Major League Baseball. And, of course, you go back a decade and you find on the list of the recent perfect games in baseball history, you find the name Dallas Braden. And how about this run between 2010 and 2012? There were 5 perfect games. There hasn't been one since. Bay Area fans got treated to 2 of them, with, of course, Matt Cain on the other side of the Bay doing it against these very same Houston Astros back in June of 2012. But let's show you the one that we care about the most. That, of course, came on Mother's Day 2010. Dallas Braden with a moment that nobody is ever going to forget in A's lore.
No, not at all. Dallas, get off my mound, Braden. He had everything working that day, and you saw it from the time he left the dugout going to the bullpen. He had that look in his eye like something special was going to happen on that day. And lo and behold, nothing more special could happen to a pitcher than throwing a perfect game.
Yeah, and I love that Dallas said, you know what, if you're not trying to throw a perfect game every time you take the mound as a major league pitcher, you are doing something wrong. It does not happen very often. You can't expect it's going to happen, but you have to have that mindset that, you know what, this is what I'm going out to do today.
And I think that bodes the same for this young club, Dave, and I think that's a great point that you bring up, because it's so difficult to come up to this league, in which I always say is there's no league bigger than this one, to come up and perform, but to come up here and win at the same time is equally difficult. So I just want to see these guys continue to come up and get better, learn how to play winning baseball, because that is the true character that's missing to this club right now. They're fighting, but they're coming up short. And when you look across the dugout, across the field, and you see a team that's doing everything and they know how to win with 2 strikes, with 2 outs, never quitting, this is what's going to allow these kids to be good, and time will only tell how they'll be able to grab it.
Well, we are going to see how they finish out the season, and we are going to step aside for a minute and come back to finish out this show. We're still ahead. We will hear from Cole Irvin as he gets the loss today in Houston. All right, thank you, Townie. Make sure you catch Chris Townsend on A's Cast before and after every A's game tomorrow. Sarah Langs from MLB.com and Robert Murray, Fansided's MLB Insider, will be joining Townie on the show. Go to athletics.com/A's Cast to listen live and find the A's Cast wherever you get your podcasts. So the Oakland A's with an 8-game losing skid now as they get ready to head up to Arlington, Texas, and see what they can do against the Texas Rangers. But before we preview that series, let's take a reaction right now where it was Cole Irvin talking about his team's performance. All right, so let's take a look at the pitching probables coming up for the 4-game set against the Texas Rangers. Caprillion will get it going tomorrow against Glenn Otto for the Rangers. And Shooty, what do you think it's going to take for the Oakland A's to be able to try and perhaps win a series in Texas and feel a little bit better about this road trip coming back?
I think they have a much better chance of being able to navigate through Texas's lineup. They've got like 3 guys that are really legit when you start talking about Marcus Semien and Garcia and Sager. But the other guys are trying to prove themselves as well. So be careful with the meat of the lineup and just make sure you get the guys that are not supposed to beat you. And I think the A's have a much better chance than in this series.
Yeah, the Houston Astros, one of the best teams in the league. So anything other than Houston is probably going to be a more favorable matchup. We'll see how things progress tomorrow in Texas. We'll have the game for you right here on NBC Sports California. For Shooty, Babbit, and the rest of our fantastic crew here in our NBC Sports California studios, I'm Dave Benz saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.